everybody, how's it going? Lord Josh here once again. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm all golded up, all glittered out, because I'd like to take the wonderful opportunity tonight to talk to you about the origins of my love affair and my romance with the color gold. That's right, this incredible color which I treat like an external spirit. I don't treat it like a color, really. I see gold as a consciousness that has a separate awareness that we as people, as magicians, as anyone really, can communicate with it and get information from it. It's healing, it's powerful, it holds beneficial qualities. To me, gold is the closest that I can get to God, and I mean that. But how does one come to this realization in the first place? How does one actually know or feel that gold is the true source of divinity? It takes a long time to reach that conclusion for most people, if indeed they ever get there. Now, with me, something did happen in 2008, in June time. Now, if you remember, I made a video talking about my initial major spiritual awakening that occurred in 2007, the one where I had blackouts. It was deeply troubling and unpleasant, to say the least. It wasn't a very nice experience to go through. This one that occurred about a year later was fantastic. This is a positive, uplifting experience, 100% true, and hopefully during these very trying and testing times, you'll get something out of this, and I think you will, to be honest with you. So I want to take you back, 2008, June time. We were all planning, all of us, my family, to go on a vacation abroad overseas, and we all decided mutually that we liked Spain. And we couldn't really decide where we wanted to go in Spain. And I was looking through online on the internet, and I like seclusion. I like to be, it might sound a bit strange, but I like to be isolated and away from the hustle and bustle of the crowds. I don't like it. I love to be way away in sort of nature, in the wilderness, maybe even like a log cabin or something like that, up in the mountains. That's my favorite place. And I happened to come across this wonderful villa that was on top of this gorgeous mountain surrounded by vineyards and farmlands in an agricultural community. And I thought, what a fabulous place to go to truly relax and unwind and maybe plug into something powerful. So I thought, okay, that's the one. So I pitched it to my parents. They liked it. My father was a bit apprehensive, saying, oh, it's a little bit remote. It's a little bit too out of the way in the boonies. But we all agreed that was the one. So the place was called Nura. It's spelt Nurja, but it's pronounced Nura. Beautiful place. And I remember leading up to this vacation, I was having these incredibly bizarre and surreal dreams. Now, most of you will know I'm a Taoist magician, a Taoist practitioner, predominantly. I also follow a Mayan path as well with Lamat. But in these dreams, I was seeing entities and experiencing things that were clearly not Chinese at all, or Asian or anything like that. I dreamt the night before I was scheduled to fly to go to this villa. I dreamt that I was going up this mountaintop and I saw this gate, and it was gold and dark emerald green colored. And through this gate was a palace, and inside it were all of these gods and immortals who at the time reminded me of the Michelangelo paintings that you see in the Sistine Chapel, you know, those muscular, well-built gods. And they were all walking around this beautiful palatial area. And some of them were flying, some of them had wings, and they were all talking to each other telepathically. But I could hear all of the thoughts of these gods and spirits, and it was kind of chaotic. And at the end of this other side of this area was this square-shaped pool full of the most blue-colored water I'd ever seen, intense blue. And they were all sitting around it. Some of them were actually in it. And I heard them communicating with each other. And they said, they were talking about me. They said, this person who's come into this retreat, this paradise, is not ready to bathe in this water. And every time I tried to dive in, the dream would end. So I must have had this dream about 3 or 4 days before I went, because I remember having it about 3 or 4 times. But every time I tried to dive in, it would just cut off, and that's where the dream would end. And it was so inconvenient because I really wanted to dive into this pool. I felt like maybe it was a place of a fountain of youth or rejuvenation. I'm not sure. So, dream aside, we get going to this place. I pack up all of my things, and I get the strongest gut instinct feeling that I've ever had before or since then, to take with me a video game called Dynasty Warriors 5 on the PSP. Remember the PSPs that were all the rage back then, those portable video game consoles, handheld ones. I thought, wow, okay, why do I feel so compelled to take this with me? Now, of course, as most of you know, Zhuge Liang, Kong Ming, is a massive part of the Dynasty Warriors video game world. He's a playable character within that game because it takes place during the Three Kingdoms Han Dynasty era. So I was thinking, okay, I'll take the game with me and I'll play it. I planned on playing it, in the taxi, on the bus, on the airplane, that type of thing. I did not really plan on playing it whilst I was at the holiday destination. So on the way there, I was completely immersed on the plane on the Dynasty Warriors 5. And as I got off of the plane and my foot touched the ground in Spain, I got this enormous electric shock from the ground. It came up here, traveled through my leg, and it ended about there, where the heart is, roughly in this area. And I remember thinking, that's weird. But it was such a strong feeling. It wasn't unpleasant. If anything, it was actually quite wonderful. All this energy, like electricity, surging in this area when I stepped off the plane. Like when I made physical contact with the ground itself. It felt like something had opened up inside my chest. Very, very strange. And I was feeling a little bit spaced out throughout the day. But I wasn't experiencing those god-awful blackouts like I was the year previously. So as we get to our destination, we're traveling there, and I'm playing my game in the car. We rented out this beautiful, I always remember it because I'm a car guy, I love cars. My father rented out this wonderful Range Rover Sport, which was in a dark green. And he said, we have to take the SUV, the 4x4, because the actual track to the mountain where this villa is so steep, and there's no streets. It's a dirt road, so no normal car would be able to travel in this area to get to the villa. I thought, wow, it's crazy. It must be really remote. So I remember being in the car, playing on the PSP, playing as Kong Ming in the game. I'd look up and then keep my eyes down for the next 30 minutes. And I remember looking up periodically and seeing, the signs are no longer in English, which is a good sign for me, because that means we're moving away from the touristy areas where all the English people go. We're getting into the heart of Spain now, the truly beautiful parts of Spain. I look up again and there's no signs. Like the signs have disappeared. Get back to my game. Look up 20 minutes later, there's no street. It's just a dirt road. And we are literally, totally in the middle of absolute nowhere. There's not a building for miles. And we're traveling up this very steep mountain. We're ascending upwards. And the car, even though it's a damn good Range Rover, they're tough as old boots, it was struggling to get up. And we said, there's no way we could have come here without renting out this car. And as we're going up, it must have taken us a good hour to get up this mountain top. And as we're traveling up, I start to feel this weird sensation in my chest, but it's spreading outward into my limbs, so into my arms, tingling into my hands, like a prickly sensation. And I start to hear this frequency, this high pitch frequency as we're getting further up. Now, I've used to always get this. I don't know if it's a medical condition, something to do with the ears. I'm not sure, but I've always had this weird ringing sensation in my ears. But this one was different. Usually when you get that medical condition, you tend to have a constant ringing that eventually dies out. This one almost had what I would call an intelligence to it. It had a musicality to it, like a rhythm. It would do it on your command. It was almost like a code, a way of communicating. And so it was going up and down. It had a beat, it had a rhythm, and sometimes it was erratic. It wasn't a consistent high-pitched frequency like I had before. It was very different. And it was coming from the center of my forehead. That's where I felt like the noise was coming from. As we were going further up the mountain, this became clearly way more apparent, and all of my limbs, my body was tingling like crazy. Felt like I had 1,000 ants walking all over me. And I had this visual in my mind of this mountain top. Not the mountain we were traveling on, but the mountain that was around the corner in a slightly different location. And I felt like perhaps it was trying to communicate with me. Very strange. We eventually got to the top. I got out the car, put my feet on the ground, and as I put both of my feet down getting out of the car, I look up, and there is that gate, that golden and green emerald gate that I saw in my dreams just a few days ago. There it is, right there in the flesh. Now, the actual place, I would say it wasn't exactly the same, but it was about 70% similar to what I experienced in those dreams. And I remember looking at it thinking, okay, this is destiny? Is this fate? What am I doing here? It's that feeling, because I'm a great believer in destiny and fate. So we get up to the gate, and let me just give you the picture of what this looks like, this villa. It's a rustic farmhouse looking place. It's white. It's like a beautiful, serene white. It's so clean, so well maintained. But there's nothing around it apart from vineyards. There's a couple of farmhouses way off in the distance. And it's just full of agricultural farmland, basically. That's it. And facing the mountain that you're on, that I was on, was another mountain. And as I go into this place, I'm taken aback by the traditional quality of it. The decor, everything is wood. There was wooden beams in the ceiling. The floors were a red tiling. And the name of the villa, I'm not going to say the whole name on here because I don't want to, but the name of it was something golden something. Now, as you go in, like the gate is gold and green, and although there's a lot of wood and it's quite old-fashioned, all of the china, all of the plates, cups and saucers, teapots, they were all gold. They were all bright gold. They weren't real gold, but they were just, painted gold. And there was some hunting rifles, I remember, hanging over the fireplace, and they were gold. They must have been replicas. All of the doorknobs were gold. The bed frames were gold. The wardrobes were gold and white. The bathroom itself, the actual shower door, had a gold frame on it. So that was the theme of this place. Everything was kind of gold, basically. Gold and another color, white and green. And I thought, wow, it's amazing. Up until this point, I was quite young at the time, I'd never really been exposed to the color gold. I just never really thought too much about it, And I've always been a bit of a color addict, but at this point, I'd never truly considered the incredible beauty of gold. So I'm looking around and I'm loving this place, but the best part of it was I had the room upstairs on the top floor, and I had my own balcony. And from that balcony, you had the most incredible mountain view, where it felt like you were sitting in the armchair of the world. You could see everything. It was so expansive and gorgeous. It was Oh, I was into magic at that point, and I was practicing as a feng shui practitioner, but I was in my infancy. I didn't know much about it whatsoever. So my knowledge and my skills and my experience back then was almost zero. I'd read a few books, I tried a handful of spells, but I was nowhere near the level I am now. This place, you didn't have to be an expert or a master or a professional to know. This place had some extreme energy to it. Feng Shui practitioners will often say there's no such thing as a perfect place. Guess what? This place was. In my eyes, I'm sure some master could find fault with it, but in my eyes, when I was there and I was feeling it, 'cause it's not what you see and what you hear, it's what you feel in here. When you go and you're in these places, I felt an enormous sense of, this is my home, more so than where I live now. I felt like I was truly at home and I'd gone home. And I thought, oh my God, this is great. This feeling, this intensity, this serenity and calmness of the entire place. And it just made me feel so relaxed and welcomed by it. So I was looking at this mountain in the distance. And I remember thinking, there's something special about you. There's just something different. There was a whole bunch of mountains that surrounded the whole place. And of course, you were on one yourself. But the one I was facing, I don't know what it was, but there was something about it that just set my mind aflame, afire, like an explosion. I love it. So I was thinking, yeah, I bet I'm going to have an experience with this mountain at some point. So I was sunbathing near the pool, a nice pool area. And as I was laying there, I used to play on my PSP, on Dynasty Warriors 5. And I tell you, this is so strange. It's almost too strange to put into words, but it's 100% true. The whole thing is true. I sat down, I was laying down, and I just came back from running around some of the local vineyards. Just beautiful. I wish I'd taken more pictures. I have one photo here I can show you. That's what the villa looked like. Isn't it great? That's a picture from the back of it. I know I've got pictures of the inside and the gate somewhere. I'll dig them up and I'll put them on Twitter so you can see them. You can see the wonderful gold. But that's what it looks like. And as I was laying there, there was this song in Dynasty Warriors 5 called Memories. Now, if you've been a long-time viewer, it sounds so crazy, I know, Memories. If you're a long-time viewer of this channel, you'll know that I've used that song probably 50 times in various videos. I used it in Sorcery of the Seven Stars documentary. I used it for my Kong Ming tribute. I've used it in poems. It's one of those go-to songs I use all the time. And for some reason, I never get copyright on it, so I just keep using it. I adore it. It came from this experience. So as I was laying there, and I didn't have any headphones at the time, so there's no headphones, I was looking outward and I was just sitting and I was thinking, oh my God, this song and this mountain and this place, it's taking me into a completely different consciousness, like a completely different way of perceiving reality. So what I would do is I'd crank the volume of this song, Memories. Go and listen to it. I put a link in the description. And I put it to my ear, crank it right up to max 100% volume. And I would sit and I would watch this mountain for 2-3 hours because the song would seamlessly loop over and over, and it didn't seem like it had no end and no beginning. It would just constantly go on and on and on. And as I was doing this, I must have been winding up this energy, but it was so easy, right? That's why I'm telling you like this, because I wasn't sitting there making this happen. It was happening so naturally and organically, and I wish I knew how to emulate it and do it right now. How on earth do I get back to this state? Was it the music? Was it the mountain? Was it the place? Was it everything? Was it the perfect recipe and formula for what would happen? So I'm sitting there with this music blasting out. Hang on, the computer's just gone off. Yep, we're still going, good. With the music blasting out. And there I am, all of a sudden, right? My vision goes from, being normal vision to everything transforms into gold. And all of a sudden I hear the loudest high-pitched frequency sound being beamed right into the center of my forehead, right between the eyes, being beamed straight through, and it's coming from this mountain. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, whoa, and I'm racked with energy. My body is vibrating, it's buzzing. All of the sensations are totally overwhelmed, but it's a pleasant experience. I'm getting this electrifying feeling in my hands and fingers going down to my feet, but it seems to be accumulating and settling in the chest, like I said. All of it appears to be going to the heart. So my vision changes. Everything becomes gold. Completely as gold as this beautiful jacket. Everything becomes gold. And I'm looking around and I start to see these fireflies all buzzing around my body, like in a whirlwind of fireflies. And I look down, I've still got the PSP held to my ear as I'm looking out. I've got my eyes open and I look down and I've got this hole in the center of my chest, and all of these insects, these fireflies, these butterflies, all glowing and shining and shimmering golden, they all go straight into my chest, into my heart. And I'm totally awake, not taking any drugs, not doing anything crazy. I'm just sitting there listening to music, staring at this mountaintop. All of these golden vibrations and colors and shapes and everything was going in here, and I could feel it and I could taste it. I had a metallic taste in my mouth, a burning sensation under my eyes, but for some reason I found it to be extremely pleasant. As this was all going on, I must have completely lost track of time because the song was playing over and over and over again, but the PSP went out of charge, it died. So I'm sitting there and slowly everything returns to normal. It's not an instant, I'm back. It's just slow, everything fades away, fades into the background. And it's like somebody switched something on in my mind and says, here's how reality really looks. You're going to get a glimpse of it. And now you return back to your normal state. I wanted to go back to Goldland, but trust me, I really did. So I thought, wow, this is incredible. This is life-changing. And I remember being so overcome with emotion that I actually cried in the moment. It's not often that I'm not a crier at all. I don't cry very much one bit. I'm not trying to sound tough or anything because I'm not tough, but I just don't cry really that much. But I was overcome with pure, blissful happiness. I'd never felt so much happiness. And it all went to here. I had a heavy sensation for the whole vacation, all here. Pure bliss. So you're probably thinking, well, that's just one time, right, on this vacation. It happened every single day for the 10 days we were there. Every day, because I made it happen. I trained myself to actually encourage this to happen. So I'd sit, and the second day I thought, I wonder if it'll happen again. I sat down, I laid down exactly the same position, got the PSP, charged it up, put Memories back on, the beautiful song. You should listen to it because it starts so calm, and then it picks up and it's fluttering and it's beautiful the way it goes, and then it gets epic and strong and powerful, marching imperial armies going into battle. That's how much you feel it. Here's my feather fan. And as all this was going on, I got Memories up here, the song, it starts to happen again. Everything goes gold. This opens up. I have all of the insects and the butterflies and the fireflies. They're all glowing and they all go into my chest once again, totally awake. Now this time I've got my grandmother at the side of me and my mother here, and I'm just sitting here like this, totally amazed, in the deepest trance state, the very deepest trance state that I've ever been in my whole life. I go into trance states and flow, state of flow, I would say most days when I do rituals. I've never ever been able to get close, truly close, to achieving the same level of effortless. That's the point I'm trying to make. I wasn't doing rituals. I wasn't dressed in robes, pacing the 7 stars, with my crystals. I wasn't doing anything like that. I had no magical tools whatsoever. I was just sitting there and being hypnotized by this incredible land that was around me. How do you explain it? It might have been on the 7th day. It was getting on quite a bit at that point, whereas all this kind of came to a head and the mountain itself started to speak to me. So I trained myself to do this day in, day out, and it was the highlight. I didn't go anywhere on this vacation because there's nowhere to really go. It was kind of a secluded place. I went around the vineyards a bit, but I just stayed around the pool and stared at this mountain. I became like a Buddhist monk. Now, anyone who knows me, you probably know I have a damn hard time getting into trance state and meditation because I'm fidgety. I'm always moving around. I got too much energy. My mind's very fast. And I find it really hard to quiet my thoughts down and to relax myself, to get into that state of Zen. I find that incredibly difficult. I still do to this day. But this was effortless, totally effortless. I don't know what it actually was. I never actually realized why it happened, but it just continuously happened. And on the 7th day, I believe it was, the mountain spoke up with a rumbly, thunderous, powerful, deep voice. It communicated with me with a voice that I could hear. And it said to me, wear the color gold, use the color gold, and this place will be with you always. And I always remember that. Use the color gold, take it with you, and you take a piece of this place with you wherever you go. And that is how I fell in love with the color gold. Isn't that amazing? Open your heart to it. And I feel like I've had some time, obviously many years, to reflect on this. I feel like I've gotten to the point now where perhaps what I was doing, because the place was something golden something, the villa, the name of it, perhaps what I was doing, I was communicating directly with gold. And for some reason, the mountain, because the mountain was, I don't see how it was necessarily related to gold, but it seemed to give all of these powerful frequencies. It was almost like a point, and it was facing me, and it shot my way, and I felt like the whole area basked in this golden aura, and perhaps all of the energy that was in the place contributed, along with the music, because the music is essential, I found. I couldn't quite do it without the music. I tried a couple of times, and it didn't seem to work, but I still had an immense feeling of peacefulness, of quietness, of pure relaxation, whereas a lot of the time I do struggle with that, even now after all these years of constant practice. I would love to be able to get to that state of gold Zen. And you might be saying, well, go back to this villa. I'd love to. I think that's the next thing I'll do. After this lockdown ends, whenever it does end, I'd love to go back to this villa, take my camera with me, and we could do all kinds of experiments out there. I think it'd be fantastic. So I suppose in the end it comes down to the question, how do you explain all of this? Can you explain it? And a theory that I've had recently in the last 6 months or so is what I call energetic compatibility or energetic incompatibility, which basically means that some people's energies, electromagnetic auras that surround their bodies, they're compatible with certain colors, certain people in certain places, just like me with the color gold and with that mountaintop in Nura and that whole place. My energy was vibing with the energies of the the area, and it just so happened that I discovered that gold was compatible with my aura. I feel like some people may have the opposite. So if you comment on this video and you say to me, I feel that, you know, I don't like gold, gold makes me feel negative, I don't get a good feeling from it, that doesn't mean that I'm right, you're wrong. That means maybe you have an energetic incompatibility with that color. And everybody's different. I'm not sure what determines it. It could be genetics, DNA, blood types, personality types. There's so many potential factors, but I think that may explain some of what I experienced. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Hope you've enjoyed it and found it informative. Take care, and I'll see you soon.